I would say like skin is the foundation, and I've been really open about all of the things that I've done over the years. I get a lot of pushback and feedback that it's a result of surgeries or procedures. There aren't surgeries that can
help with the skin.
And your skin is your canvas, it's your foundation, and then you can do these other things, and it helps to really kind of bring that out and be the cherry on top.
As we get older, in all honesty, inflammation is the one thing that we really, really want to avoid, because if you think about it, acne, it's an inflammatory response. Premature aging is also an inflammatory response. Reducing inflammation is the number one most important thing to really take note of. And then retinoids. I think using SPF is so important, because at the end of the day, we talk about skincare here and we talk about how much money we spend on certain procedures and things like that. All of that is really great, but the best investment you can ever make is to find an SPF that you'll want to wear and reapply every single day. You can buy one serum and you should see results, because they're the powerhouses. And you can invest your money on a really great serum and use a drugstore moisturizer. If you're on a limited budget, that's where I think you could play around with.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We have to start where we just started before we pressed record, which is like a big podcasting faux pas, right? Always be recording. But I am mesmerized by your skin.
Thank you.
And you told me that I have to go where? Bangkok?
Bangkok. So I split part of my time in Bangkok, and there's this longevity clinic that I absolutely adore called Astrid. And the doctor is the best injector I've ever had the experience of knowing. She does human stem cells and placenta. And what they really do is they help rebuild your barrier, basically help with wound repair and melasma pigmentation. So it's incredible, because you not only repair your skin, but it's also undetectable. You just really look like you've had like 3 months of sleep.
Yeah, that's exactly how you look right now.
I'm very
like you've
exhausted.
had 3 months of sleep and that you've never seen the sun, like in a good way.
Thank you. Maybe it's just a really good lighting in your studio.
No. I mean, look, we're going to get into all of it, but you really walk the walk. You practice what you preach, obviously. You're so heavily into the science of skincare, and you've had your own difficult road, which brought you here. So I think that, you are like the authority on all of this. So anything that you tell me to do, I'll do. I'll go to Bangkok and get placenta. Yeah. I have to ask though, with the stem cells and the placenta, do they inject it in the face?
Yeah. So you can get it done both ways. You can get it done in the body. So with stem cells, you can get an IV drip, which I think it's quite the rage now to go to Costa Rica or Mexico to do it. So you can do that. And you can also inject placenta, but they do it like on your butt. So that really just helps you sleep better. It really just helps your skin, if you do it regularly, just becomes like super soft. So it really helps with that. But then you can also inject it in your face. The reason why I like this injector, Dr. Pour is her name, is because she does something called like the 5-point injection. So I don't know if you're familiar with Profilo. It's not allowed. I don't think
they don't have it here.
They don't have it here, but it's quite common in Europe and Asia. It's the 5-point injection that actually allows less trauma to the skin, and there's really no downtime. Like I could get a treatment and go meet an investor for dinner.
Amazing. Tell everybody what I love it. Love the honesty. What is Profilo? Because I'm aware of it. My friend who lives in London loves it.
Right.
But as you said, it's not allowed here, I don't think. Right. So what is it?
So Profilo is essentially high molecular weight hyaluronic acid that is different than a filler, so it doesn't fill, but it draws like water, moisture in. So it helps your skin become more juicy. It helps you look like you have more sleep than you normally do, and it helps you look less dry. So it's like if you want that like dewy, glossy skin, that's great. But you have to be a bit careful with it, because if you overdo it, you just look a bit puffy. So it's all about balance.
Yeah. I feel like we're moving away from the era of filler and I don't know. I was going to say even like surgeries, but I feel like we're moving into this really natural era where skin is everything. And I always say like skin is the foundation. And I've been really open about all of the things that I've done over the years. And I get a lot of pushback and feedback that it's a result of, surgeries or procedures. And I'm like, no. There aren't surgeries that can
Help with the skin.
no. And your skin is your canvas, it's your foundation. And then you can do these other things. And it
Absolutely.
helps to really kind of bring that out and be the cherry on top. But you, like I said, are very into the science. You have a biomedical background. And we're going to be talking all about the skin. But I love how you emphasize, like, what even is the role of the skin? Because beyond what it looks like, the health of our skin is so important for other reasons. So let's start there.
So there's a physical component of it. So the skin is the largest organ we have. So it's designed to protect your organs from pathogens, right? So it's a barrier. So most of the time people think the skin is it's not a sponge, you know, it doesn't absorb. It absorbs some things, but it's meant to keep things out. So number one. But psychologically, the skin is also the first thing people notice because it has the most, I guess, real estate on your body. So it's the first thing people notice. So if you have great skin, I think we all know what having a good skin day really feels like. And I think that's really what we try to do with our products, especially just to help people feel really, really good. Because I think when you feel really good, when you're in that full alignment, is where you feel really powerful. Then it really doesn't matter how you look or how many wrinkles you have, all that. Like that feeling good part, that's the thing that I've been really focused on.
Yeah. And you have a lot of experience with this because you've been through your own trauma, right? You had to have reconstructive surgery and that kind of set you on this path. And I'm sure a lot of people listening who haven't had that exact experience have the experience of having breakouts or having wrinkles or having whatever their concern is and knowing how that affects you because your skin, especially your face, that's what you're presenting to the world. That's what people are seeing. So I would love for you to share, if you'd be willing, a little bit about that experience and how that changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah. So when I was 19, I had a really severe accident. I smashed my face and I needed to have reconstructive surgery. And I picked what I thought was a good surgeon. But he ended up butchering my face, so I had multiple infections. I had necrosis where the infection was eating the flesh on my skin. So I had holes in my face. It was after many failed surgeries and a failed suicide attempt that I needed to see a therapist. And my therapist said, okay, let's assume you have to be here. Let's make a list of all the things you want to accomplish by the time you're 30. What does that list look like? And it was then that I realized, you know, if I was hating myself every day, crawling out of my skin every day, then maybe other people would. And it just so happened that my background's in biomedical and pharmaceutical science. So I combined that and my desire to really just help people feel really good about themselves into a range of products that will deliver visible results. And it was also during that time when I was dealing with infections and necrosis where my doctors basically said, you can't do anything. You really have to heal. You really have to take care of your skin because when your skin is healthy and pliable, that's when we will have more options to fix the dents and the holes in your face. And that's also when I started discovering things like active ingredients like epidermal growth factors and copper tripeptide that, you know, when I was I'm 37 now, so 19, when I was 19, that was like many, many years ago. I started looking at all these active ingredients that would really help to regenerate the skin and help with skin longevity before even if it was a buzzword. So now longevity is this thing that people use all the time. But I was always fascinated by that from the very beginning because of what I went through. So I guess in this lifetime, everything that I've been through has led me on this path.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing. I mean, what better thing to drive your purpose, right, than turning your pain into something useful for other people?
I feel incredibly fortunate to be able to turn my pain into a business. Because I also know how fortunate I am to be able to be in that position because a lot of times people just have their pain.
I'm looking at you. Again, I'm still like transfixed by your skin, but you know, you're talking about holes and I don't see anything. So what did you do to heal yourself from that necrosis? I mean, that can be devastating.
Yeah, it was really devastating. So what I really did was to really focus on just healing the barrier because you really have to protect the barrier. So it's using a lot of growth factors because that's what I was doing in the doctor's office. Hyperbaric oxygen, that was the thing that if you have access to it, that really helps with like burns, also helps with necrosis, also help with tissue repair. So that was something that I had the opportunity to invest in. And so for me, I am also at this stage where because of what I went through and I had multiple infections, in which I had also multiple surgeries. I remember there were years, there was, a year where I had like 2 surgeries every year back to back. And it was really, really traumatic and I didn't get the result that I wanted. Um, and I also realized now, looking back, that it was because of how I felt about myself. So I was rushing into it. So if if I could go back, I would tell myself that I would, you know, take it easy and really speak to as many doctors as possible. It's really kind of like dating. And you just have to just find the ones that will maybe tell you what you don't want to hear. Because I think very often we always gravitate towards the people that tell you what you want to hear. And that's how I got myself into trouble.
Yeah, I think that's such an important message for people to hear because, although your situation was different from somebody going to get elective surgery or something, we all want that instant gratification. And if you're going to somebody, whether it's an injector or a surgeon, to alter something that you have, an issue with, if you're going to somebody to fix something that you're insecure about, you want it to be fixed then and there. Right. And it's really important that if you're being told no, to pause and listen to that because that's how people get themselves into trouble.
Yeah, and that's what I did. I think I was so fixated on trying to fix it that I just picked a doctor that was just, at that time I didn't know that he probably just he had no experience. And he just said, yeah, I could do everything. And you know what the biggest red flag was? When I said, do you have photos? He was like, oh yeah, I've done a lot of it. And I just took his word for it.
Though, I don't think that burden should have been on you.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. So many people find themselves in that situation. It's so hard to find good providers and to know who is good and who isn't. And the burden is really on the patient to figure that out. And there's a lot of really good marketing and things like that now when it comes to skincare too, just to tie it all in. So it's really important to, find providers, find products, find businesses that really have the
integrity.
The integrity, exactly. Yeah. That's such a good word for it.
Yeah. And also just it's okay if a doctor tells you no, and you have to ask yourself why they're saying no. Because usually what happens if somebody tells you no, you know what you do? You just go find someone who'll say yes. And even if it takes 5 visits, you'll find. But then why is that person saying yes when all the other 5 doctors have said no? I think that's the thing that we really need to think about.
I have friends that are plastic surgeons and they don't give me any details, but they have patients like that where they say no and then the person goes and finds somebody who says yes. And then they go back to that original doctor with their tail between their legs to get whatever it was fixed that got botched.
Which is so much harder.
So much harder. Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone needs to take a beat. And I know people are going to comment on this and tell me that I should have listened to my own advice or something. But okay, so you mentioned the skin barrier. Yes. Barrier is very trendy right now. Everybody is talking about protecting their barrier. There's barrier creams. What exactly is the skin barrier and what are some things that we might be doing that are compromising it? Yeah.
So the barrier is essentially the protective layer you have on your skin. So basically the first layer of your skin is mostly made of dead skin cells, which is why you can use an acid peel, which is why you get the instant glow. So we're constantly growing and shedding new skin cells every single day. So that's the thing that I love about the skin because it's the only organ in the body, one of the few organs in the body that's capable of regenerating itself. So with the barrier, it is designed to really hold onto moisture. It's designed to, again, keep things out. It's designed to be the protective layer on your skin. So usually, for example, if you're sitting out in the sun, you get a sunburn, but the skin protects your organs from getting UV damage. That's basically what it is. And I think the most common, mistakes people make when it comes to their barrier health is perhaps exfoliating too often, using or loading up on active ingredients one after the other. So as a rule, if you want that glass skin look, which I don't, I'm a big fan of that, but if you're over exfoliating, you have the thin line of looking really glassy before everything crumbles. So it's about making sure that as a rule, you only use one exfoliator per day per routine. So for example, if you're using an acid peel at night, I don't think you need to be exfoliating in the morning.
I know you've seen my videos.
No, I'm just, in general, I think that's it. And also more importantly, I think using SPF is so important because at the end of the day, we talk about skincare here and we talk about how much money we spend on certain procedures and things like that. All of that is really great. But the best investment you can ever make is to find an SPF that you'll want to wear and reapply every single day. I think that's the number one thing. Because if you don't apply SPF, then it's really like it's like the foundation of the house. Like, so that's something that's super important.
I want to tell you what I do.
Yes, please.
I wash my face with a glycolic cleanser.
Right.
Morning and night. You're already horrified. Followed by vitamin C.
Right.
Then I use serum that has azelaic.
Okay, great.
And salicylic.
Okay.
Maybe a little glycolic in that one too. I'm not sure. I'm watching his face fall. Then I do in the morning. Then I do like a cream for redness. And then I moisturize, and that has peptides, growth factors, and then SPF.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at night, I do the same thing. And then I add benzoyl peroxide and trans retinol.
Combination, yeah.
Yep. And then same moisturizer, growth factors, peptides.
Is the benzoyl peroxide together with the retinol in one thing? So it's really neat.
It's like a dual chamber.
Okay.
And then you pump it
amazing.
together. Yeah.
Because technically, as a rule, if you're layering from like two different brands, they cancel each other out. So you kind of don't want to do that. But if it's designed to be used together, then by all means. I actually think that you're doing too much.
Yeah. No, I know. That's why whenever I talk about skincare and have people on, they're like, how is your face not raw? Like, how is that possible? But this line that I've been using for 2.5 years, and I incorporate other products, and I'm obsessed with your growth factor product. And, I'm starting to like branch out a little bit and kind of move away. I had really, really bad cystic acne kind of out of nowhere 2.5 years ago. And I tried everything and nothing was working. And I went to my facialist and she put me on, it's Jan Marini. Everybody knows because I do my skincare routines all the time on Instagram. And this is the routine and it's like formulated to go together. And it was within weeks. I mean, it was gone, cleared it up. And I felt like my skin really did improve because at the time it was so sensitive. The barrier was so compromised. I was so oily, but dry. Pores were clogged, but I couldn't use anything that had like any kind of moisture because then it would break out. Like it was just a mess. That brings me to now, and everybody's like, "That's too much."
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few things to really unpack here, which I think it's so great. So I think you don't have cystic acne now, so you don't have to live in fear of what happens if it comes back if I start exfoliating. I think there's that component there. But I also think that if you're using something for redness, in the day, by simply just like eliminating some of the acids, you'll probably realize you probably don't need to deal with the redness because the redness
I love
is
how
probably,
cautiously you're.
the redness is
so funny.
probably from like over exfoliating. But again, we can put things together that will give you equally the right results without you having to fear that you're doing too much.
Yeah. So when it comes to a skincare routine, not just for me, but for anybody, what are like the foundational steps or the foundational ingredients that you would do? And I know that when you started years ago, you started with how many? Three products?
Yeah, now I have 20.
That's crazy. Were those 3 products kind of those foundational products that you think that everybody could benefit from? Or what was the thought process around that?
So the thought process was really to create an activating mist because skincare is best applied on very, very damp skin. So we have a anti-evaporation mist that's designed to sort of have the potency of an essence or a serum or a light serum, but it's designed to cling to your skin cells. So we use something called heavy water that's molecularly heavier than traditional water, so it withstands the rate of evaporation. Then we have our peptides daily treatment, which is a all-day moisturizer, and then we have our retinol night cream. I kind of felt like I wanted to create like creams that would be like your Swiss Army knives that would check multiple boxes. So that's really when I started. But I think the brand really took off after we started developing serums. And the reason why I love serums is because I think it's not, logical for me to assume everybody is going to have everything from my brand. And serums are the best way for somebody to really figure out whether or not like a product is really effective, because they're the powerhouses. You can buy one serum and you should see results. I think that's what it is. And you can invest your money on a really great serum and use a drugstore moisturizer. That is where I think you can, if you're on a limited budget, that's where I think you could play around with. And so for us, it's very simple. Depending on what your skincare goal is, let's just say cystic acne for you. What I would do is I would use in the morning sort of a mild cleanser, and then like a hydrating cleanser. Then I would go azelaic acid. It's really incredible. I would do a azelaic acid and growth factors depending on what your age is. A lot of our customers have cystic acne, but they're also like older millennials like myself. So they have aging concerns as well. So I would mix growth factors with azelaic acid, and then I'll use something with peptides as a moisturizer. And then I would use SPF. That's what I do. If you do not have cystic acne, I would do growth factors with vitamin C, for example, because vitamin C is incredible for also helping your skin be more protected from the UV damage. Also boosts the potency of your SPF, because they work in tandem. And at night, I'm a big believer in retinoids, because I think retinoids, if you want a simple routine, check multiple boxes. They treat acne. They also help with collagen boosting, so they reduce fine lines and wrinkles. So I personally at night use copper tripeptide, which is incredible for rebuilding the barrier, reducing inflammation, and repairing the skin. And growth factors. Growth factors twice a day. That's my jam. Then a retinoid. My non-negotiable at night is a face oil. Like we have a C15 face oil that I had severe acne as a teenager, so I would never launch anything that would clog the pores. And not all oils are created equal. I would, for example, never put like coconut oil or personally avocado oil on my skin, simply because the fatty acid profile, you want oils that are richer in linoleic acid. So like your rosehip oil, your tamanu oil, your black cumin oil, those are really naturally antibacterial. So it's about using the right kind of oils that will seal all the goodness in, while also making sure that your skin is nourished throughout the night. So for example, a lot of our customers are on, for example, Roaccutane, or they're on prescription tret, and it does get drying. So using an oil would really help to combat that. Let's
talk about prescription tret.
Yes.
And the difference between that and the retinol that you prefer.
Yeah. So I love prescription tret. I would say if you have access to it, I think it's a lot cheaper than our retinol cream. So I would say don't buy our retinol cream. Just go get a prescription.
There's that integrity.
Yeah, go get that prescription tret. And at the end of the day, I think the simple thing is that it's not about how like much you use. It's about how diligent you are. For example, a lot of data has shown that if you use the right concentration of prescription tret, and if you do it like twice a week, consistently over time, you're going to yield better results than trying to use something super strong and using it every single day. And then, again, getting the flaking and getting the irritation and having to stop.
Yeah.
So there's something to take note of. Sometimes less is really more. So it's up to you to figure out how long to use it for. But for me, prescription tret is like the gold standard. Then if you don't have access to something prescription, I would go for retinol dehyde, because the way retinoids work, it's quite simple. You have something called retinol palmitate. It has to be converted to retinol, and then retinol dehyde, and then retinoic acid. Retinoic acid is the only form of retinoids that your skin can recognize, which is
and that's tret,
straight
right?
up tret. Absolutely. So we use retinol dehyde, which is basically one conversion rate away.
Got it. Okay, so tret would be number one if somebody can get a prescription.
Yeah.
And then
retinol dehyde. So you can actually get adapalene at like, I think CVS or Walgreens for like $10 or $15. You can buy it on iHerb.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. You can get anything now online.
Absolutely, which I absolutely love. So I really don't think you need to spend a lot of money on ingredients like that.
Okay, and then let's talk about for anti-aging.
Absolutely.
Because that's the other big concern, right? Breakouts, anti-aging. And unfortunately, you said you're an elder millennial. So am I. I'm 39. Those two things go hand in hand at a certain point. Hormones are changing and the skin is aging. So I know you mentioned growth factors, and those really help to make that skin really juicy, right? Which we love. But what is like the ideal routine or the ideal ingredients to incorporate to combat that aging skin?
So for me, with what I know, I think no matter what age group you are, perhaps it's less if you're a teenager, maybe that's not so important. But at our age group, the most important thing is keeping or maintaining a balanced skin tone, like a really even skin tone. Because at the end of the day, healthy skin is skin that reflects light. And it's not about looking shiny or anything like that. It's not about looking fairer or changing your natural skin color. It's about looking so even that your skin is naturally hydrated, light bounce off of it. So people look at you and they're like, wow, your skin is glowing. Because when you have that, people are not going to be, oh, you have a wrinkle on your forehead or you have a wrinkle on your left eye. They're not going to care. All your perceived imperfections appear less obvious when you have an even skin tone. So I'm all about that. So
like Dr. Idris too. That's her thing, right?
Yeah, she's a dear friend. She's a dear friend of mine.
Buddies.
Yeah. So but it makes so much sense. It totally makes so much sense, and I'm all about that. And so for me, in the morning, depending on what it is, like I said, growth factors I use for stimulating collagen production and reducing fine lines and wrinkles. Growth factors are incredible, but it is not the panacea. I really have to stress that. It is not, for example, so good at brightening the skin tone. It doesn't do that. Or if you have melasma and pigmentations, it's not so good at that. But it's really good for fine lines and wrinkles. Then I would do a vitamin C. And then I would look for ingredients like tranexamic, alpha-arbutin. Those help to brighten the skin tone without actually exfoliating the skin. And then at night, I would go in with copper tripeptide. I love copper tripeptide so much because it really helps to reduce inflammation and it helps to brighten the skin tone. So if you pair copper tripeptide with growth factors, you not only get that juicy collagen boosting properties, you also can help brighten that skin tone and also fade like stubborn, dark spots. And the reason why I love copper tripeptide is also it's anti-inflammatory. As we get older, in all honesty, inflammation is the one thing that we really, really want to avoid. Because if you think about it, acne, it's an inflammatory response. Premature aging is also an inflammatory response. Reducing inflammation is the number one most important thing to really take note of. And then retinoids against red. Also, if you are slightly older, you really want to train your skin to like produce less sebum so you're not quote unquote like oily. Because technically, I don't think you're oily for your entire stage of your life. Oiliness is usually a sign that you probably are a little bit dehydrated or something's off balance. So I will look into that. And you don't have to use a very expensive oil. You can use, for example, black cumin. You can use rosehip, tamanu oil. If you're acne prone, you'll see a big difference.
How do you feel about like castor oil?
Yeah, I think it's great if you want to use it on the hair. I just look at the nutrient profile of these oils, and I think if you're looking to soften fine lines, if you're really looking to like brighten the skin, there are perhaps more superior oils than castor oils for those properties. But if you're looking for straight out hydration, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But do we really want to just hydrate?
No. No, but there's all these trends on social media now, and they really catch on like fire. Like
right.
Castor oil is one. Beef tallow is another one. I would love to get your. We need your scientific opinion on beef tallow.
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't personally use it, and I also think how it's like source. It's really important, and I also am not sure if it could potentially just sit on your skin because we don't really know the molecular structure. I really don't know, so. I don't personally use it. I don't recommend it for my friends.
Okay, got it. Enough said. What about slugging?
Yeah, I'm a big believer. I'm really a big believer in that. So I think there are many ways to do it. I just perhaps like Vaseline is not the most I guess convenient thing because it is a bit sticky. It's greasy. but you could use a barrier balm, which, for example, like Avene has a really great one, Zika Fat. You can use that as the last step. And I actually do that when I fly. Because I do long haul flights very often, and their air is so dehydrating, it just forms a barrier. So zinc oxide, like diaper rash cream, it's just it's a zinc oxide. That's a protectant.
Then that's what you use on your face? Or
It's
you
the
use
last
the
step.
Avene?
I'd use the Avene, yeah.
Okay.
Because the zinc oxide diaper cream, I don't think anybody will allow me to board.
Oh.
Because you look like an accidental geisha.
Oh my! It's like that thick,
it's like that
white,
thick white,
just pure. Got it.
The Avene absorbs really, really well.
Okay, we need some of your other hacks, but I was going to ask, to your point about the long haul flights, what about these collagen masks that everybody is
I think
using?
I think collagen is kind of like debatable because first and foremost, putting collagen in your skin will not produce more collagen. Like we just have to put that out there. I think what it will do is just hydration. And I think at the end of the day, if we take a step back about why we do the things that we do the things we do because we think it's going to make us look good, i.e. then we'll feel better, right? So no matter what it is, no matter whether or not, it's not about getting it right. It's just about doing things that make you feel really good. Because when you feel really good, then you naturally look good.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
For
so it's
sure.
about figuring out like why you're doing something. What is the intention for why you're doing that thing?
Yeah, and you can tell, like when you are feeling good, you have that glow, you have that aura about you. So it's
and your
not
vibration is higher,
for sure,
which makes you more magnetic.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay. I want you to walk us through your routine, morning and night, products, everything. And then I want to hear some of your other hacks, tips, and tricks if you have them. So we already know, go to Thailand for the stem cells
and the placenta.
Do the diaper cream and the Cicaplast on long haul flights.
On the long haul flights. You can use it also at night. Like if you are prone to flaking after Roaccutane or Tretinoin, that is a great one. You can use that every single night, not a problem. So my routine in the AM, sometimes depending on what it is, like if I'm in New York and I've been in New York like every month and it's winter time, I wake up. If I don't go to the gym, I don't need to wash my face because technically I went to bed with a clean face. But if I'm in Bangkok, for example, and I work out every morning, I will wash my face. So I use my Molecular Silk Amino Hydrating Cleanser. I use the Probiotics Mist from Allies. I do 3 serums. Now, I'm not saying anybody needs to use 3 serums. It's what I do. So I really want to just state you can just use 1 serum and that's really great. But for me right now, I'm on azelaic acid. I'm using tranexamic, and I'm using growth factors because I just want to be as bright as I possibly can. I want an even skin tone, and I also want to make sure I'm not breaking out while I travel. Then I use the eye cream, and then the peptides, antioxidants, firming daily treatment, and I use an SPF. At night, I do the cleansing balm. I always double cleanse at night. So I do the cleansing balm from Allies and then the Molecular Silk Amino Hydrating Cleanser. I use 3 serums in. At night, it's a little bit different. I use copper tripeptide, growth factors, and tranexamic acid because at night, it's all about repairing and reducing inflammation while you sleep. And the copper serum from Allies Skin is actually quite wonderful because there's an ingredient in there called saccharide isomerate, which I sort of discovered about 6 years ago. And I just added it in because I just thought it would be so great. It's been shown to thicken the skin, which is really what we want because when we over exfoliate, when we get older, the skin gets thinner. And it's been shown in clinical studies to actually help thicken the epidermis or the skin of perimenopausal and menopausal people. So if you are having, perimenopausal symptoms, or if you're going through menopause and you're listening to it, saccharide isomerate is a really great one. We use 2%, which is maxed out. So even though I'm not going through menopause, I really like it for thickening the skin. The thicker your skin is in life, physically, just the better it is, right?
Yeah.
The eye cream, and then I use the retinol night cream. I use the 0.1 because I'm a seasoned retinol user, and then the Avene Zika
to lock
everything in. Yeah, with the C. Sorry, I mix the C15 oil with the retinol night cream, and I top it up with the Avene.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like trying to memorize this.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I'm influenced.
I love that.
Me influenced. Are people not doing hydroquinone anymore?
No, I think it's still dermatologists, and I have a bunch of dermatologist friends. They all consider it the gold standard. But I have melasma, and mine's really from just abusing my skin too much. And it started when I think I went to Korea in 2015, and I went to like what I was told was like the best like celebrity derm clinic at that time. And then I was like, okay, I want to get rid of my pores. And he was like, okay, you got this laser is really great, right? It, it was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. It was this insane CO2 laser, which I really, really don't recommend. I think it was like an old one. I had to go back for 6 days to the clinic to replace the bandages because they had to put silicone patches. Like I was bleeding, like my skin came off, and then I was filled with so much melasma. So that was that thing. And I've also realized that, for example, last year I made friends with somebody who has a longevity clinic, and she said, because that's where I do like NADs and things like that. So I've never done anything on my face there. And she's like, hey, come, let me try my treatments. I'll take care of you. I was like, oh, okay. Worst mistake, because last July, I had what I thought was like the best skin of my life. And for me to go through everything I've been through and for me to say I was so happy, I was happy. So that's a big thing for me. But I didn't allow myself to be happy because I just thought, oh my gosh, how much more could I like push it?
Yeah.
So then I went, she was the worst injector. She was stabbing my face. She was
Oh my
stabbing my
God.
face with the needles, and I remember like the needle got stuck in there, and she just laughed and pulled out, and she reused
What was she injecting?
like placenta
Oh.
and like exosomes and things
Oh
like that,
my
which
God.
again I didn't need because my
Yeah.
like my skin was so
Yeah.
great. I went from so great skin to literally like my barrier was disrupted and damaged and everything like that. And I couldn't use any, like literally my skin was so sensitive, and I just thought, how could I supercharge this? And then I remember I was meditating and I thought, oh my gosh, I basically came up with an idea. I found a pharmaceutical drug company that we're basically working with right now out of this. So I managed to, turn lemons into like
once again.
margaritas.
Once again.
So I was
You're
really
good at
grateful, but it taught me a really important lesson. Like I realized that because of how I felt about myself, so much of what I was doing was self-harm masquerading as self-care. Like I couldn't accept that my skin was good enough, right? I couldn't accept that I was good enough. So I was basically scrambling to try to like fix these like things that I thought needed to be fixed because I didn't feel whole. And I got myself into so much trouble. And so sometimes the best thing is to really just like love yourself. That's really what I've learned.
I can relate to that so much because I feel like I was kind of at that point prior to when I got the sickness from Botox. I felt like when I look back now, I'm like, I looked perfect, like flawless. There was not one thing. And yet when you get to that point, you're chasing the next thing. And I think that that's just human nature. I look back at when I was really into like tracking calories and macros and exercising my body. Same thing. I was so lean, no fat on my body, and I didn't see it that way. And in some ways, what happened as a result of the Botox, as devastating as it was, it really changed the trajectory of my life. I know that sounds dramatic, but it really did. I was so sick. And a lot of things in my life unraveled as a result of that. And then I put them back together. And even though I don't look like that anymore, I'm so
the
much...
scars are still inside.
Yeah, but I'm so much happier now and more at peace now with my looks and my everything in my life. Even though it's like we were talking before, I'm dealing with all these health struggles as a result of that. But still, like I needed to go through that, I think. I think I'm still learning like why, and I'm still on that journey.
Yeah.
But I can look back on it and be like, God, yeah, I was at that point too. Like it was not enough. And something needed to happen to intervene.
Yeah. So I had to have that like slap from the universe.
Yes, that's what it is.
Because otherwise I think it's in our character or personality to want to push, right? Like we do that with our careers. Yeah. But we really shouldn't do that to our bodies.
Yeah.
Or our faces.
It's hard though, and it's like we're in this era of we see everybody else, we see ourselves, we're on camera all the time, we're doing public things
Yeah.
in the beauty
I know.
space. Like it's really hard. There's a lot of pressure. So I think we need to give ourselves some grace too.
Yeah. That's so interesting because I think for so many years, I never thought I will amount to anything with the face that I have. And I always felt like I was going through life with this handicap. So I was so ashamed of what happened to me. But then I also realized now that I've had this opportunity to, for example, work with, burn survivors. Because when we launch our copper tripeptide serum, we work with a charity called Katie Piper, where we shared the stories of how really brilliant women who have been on the receiving end of acid attacks. And it's always men doing it to women. And they have so much light. And I realized that if you think about why we do the things that we do, right? So, for example, we think looking a certain way, being a certain weight, having, certain clothes, whatever it is, right, would make us look so good and then we'll feel really, really good. But what happens if I shortcut then and I just feel really good?
Yeah.
Right? What happens if I just chase that and not stress about, okay, is my body tone enough? Is my skin dewy enough? All of that. If I just went to the light, because you think about spectrums of light, right? There's usually green and there's purple, like the rainbow, right? But if you chase after just one thing, be it money or be it your career, and then or your body or your health or whatever it is, and you just obsess with that one thing, when you get it, you still feel empty because you're not you don't chase after the entire spectrum of light. So I just want to go after the light now.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And we outsource everything.
Yeah.
So we outsource it to our careers and to money and to our looks and to followers and whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, I think the sooner we can learn that it's not an outside thing, it's an inside thing, the better.
Correct. And I actually learned that it's a wholeness that makes us beautiful. That.
Yeah.
I've seen I've been on a spiritual path, and I've seen spiritual leaders that have reached a certain degree of enlightenment, and you don't care how their hair looks, you don't care how they smell, you don't care what they wear, you literally are so fixated on them because they're pure light. Because you move away from physical beauty to spiritual beauty, and spiritual beauty for me in this stage is my holy grail now.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean. I've had encounters with people like that too. But I think that it's an important thing for us to remember too, that happens with everybody that we meet. I think that we hyperfixate on these things, whether it's our skin, whether it's the wrinkle on our forehead or our nose or our lips, whatever it is. But when you come away from an interaction with somebody, you don't remember any of those things. No. You remember their spirit.
Or how they make you feel, right?
Yes,
or how they make you laugh.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And it's interesting because I have a trainer who has, to me, an incredible body. And he told me this once. He says, Nick, once you the first day you step into the gym and you start lifting weights, you will always have body dysmorphia, because I would listen to him talk about how, oh no, my God, he needs to be more toned or cut because he does these photo shoots. And I'm looking at him what do you mean? You look perfect throughout the year. He was like, no, I can't. And then I realized that how we see ourselves is not how other people see us.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for your great questions. This was actually really fun.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
alliesofskin.com.
Amazing. And we'll link to everything in show notes as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.